The Vodafone Ghana Music Awards National Music Summit is an educational, inspirational, and motivational thought leadership platform that aims to create awareness on the importance of appreciating music. It will be fun, entertaining, and educative as well. We are leaving our studios at Anya to the grand venue, La Palm Royal Beach Hotel. Stay glued for more interesting updates. Hello viewers of Ghana Talks Radio, we've arrived at the forecourt of the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel for the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards Music Summit 2023. Follow us for more interesting gist and also more entertaining stuffs from Ghana Talks Radio. Stay tuned.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for coming out here. My name is Robert Clark, and we're happy that you are here and make it to the third annual National Music Summit. This particular program is slated on World Music Day and it's focused on commemorating the day with specific activities that we have as part of our VGMA activities. They come in three specific areas. The first one is knowledge sharing. The second one is honors that we give out. And the third certainly is about music. So today we are going to have that kind of experience. The sessions we are going to have are going to have a knowledge sharing part, which will have some speakers and some people within the industry, well knowledgeable in their space, to come and share information with you. We consider this very critical because we do not have a music school, or let's say music business school in this country. And so we have a huge deficit when it comes to the business area of managing our music. And so this platform, we want to be able to use that to close this particular gap. And so conversations are going to be held today. And we ask all of you to feel free and be a part of it. It's going to be in twofold. There's going to be the workshop session, and then we're also going to have the dialogue component. The workshop is about essentials of music business, and it's going to come from, yes, folks within the space who know what to share with you. And we also have the dialogue. The dialogue will be talking about something very critical, that is how to broaden the A-list artist brackets in this particular country, of course with global appeal. So that particular conversation will also be held. We also have a representative from the French embassy who is going to share with us their plans for music industry support. And it's going to be supported by a representation from the Principal Arts Council. So they are going to be just running, that presentation is going to be done. Now, moving away from that, there are 4 awards that are going to be presented today. This is still part of the VGMA award category. So we have traditional artists, we have instrumentalists, and then we have 2 titans who are going to, whose awards are going to be announced tonight as well. And then we're going to have traditional music from traditional artists here today, also giving off the presentation. So really this is what we have in store. There are a lot of people who are here also because we call them the plaques are in. Yes, personalized for those who won the VGMAs in May. The plaques are in, so that will also be done. So all of these activities are going to be happening, and we're asking for you to stay with us, ride with us all the way through to the end. We're happy you came, and I think we should brace ourselves for a good time, right? Okay, so before I leave, maybe I should start off by introducing the very first person to the podium to share with us something from her quarters of publishing, after which we are going to have a representation from the embassy to also come and share, and then we are also going to have Brother Kofi who's also come and share something. So let's put our hands together, let's welcome the former head of Musica, who is also one of the ladies within our space, very strong, formidable, has been promoting music for God knows how long. And then she wants to be able to address and talk to us about the area of publishing. Let's put our hands together for Diana, Mrs. Diana Post, legendary musician, loves music.
And it's a rainy afternoon, and I'm happy the weather is quite calm. Madam Emily, Your Excellency, the French Embassy, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, I'm really excited to, within the next 10 minutes, talk a little bit about the industry in terms of publishing. Of course, I started off as an artist, a recording artist, and I had my days, you know. I was the Diana Hamilton of 1993. In other words, in those days, we were making waves. And I entered the industry very early. My first album came out when I was only 21. And when I made the biggest hit, I was 23 years. So you can imagine, I'm in my 50s now. It has been a good journey with its challenges and everything. But one thing that always touches me has been the journey of the industry itself. When we were young, it was gramophone. Then the cassettes came in, the CDs came in, pen drives are still around, but now music is digital. They are in the digital time now with streaming, and apart from the DJs and stuff that we need, now we need influencers too. You need to have a very good website, you have to be interactive with your fans and stuff like that. That is where we are now. And so as things were changing, I was recording, performing, acting. Then I realized that the industry itself had to be solid. After being in the cultural administration area and having more education, I realized that the business aspect of the Ghana music industry needs to be taken serious. We need more business-like people to come in. We need managers who are qualified managers to come in, help the record labels, take the artists, brand them, and give them out to the rest of the world. We need the lawyers, the IP lawyers, to come out and help the industry. And the publishing aspect needs to be solid. I mean, we, as a GHAMARO board, we had people coming to teach us. And when they spoke about what publishers do in the industry, I realized that no, Ghana is missing that part. And the musical research that was made, it was clear that that aspect was also missing. And so in 2015, I stood out to register a company for publishing. So I just became a GHAMARO agent, and I was telling musicians, many people didn't want to register with GHAMARO because, not even register, send their work to GHAMARO because of bad news about GHAMARO. And it has gone on and on. People still don't have that faith in GHAMARO. But it is so wrong. It's one of the bodies we have that will help the industry succeed. So when I started the publishing company, I learned on the job. And I was able to put the right pressure, though part of the management of GHAMARO, because of the involvement in publishing. I got to know the things that GHAMARO really has to do. And at least by God's grace, we are there now. Despite the fact that it needs resources to work effectively, it is on track. And for that, I would want you to put your hands together for the Ghana music industry. If you are here and you are a musician, the industry will succeed because you are here today, because we're going to hear a lot of things. So let me go straight into what I want to say. The industry is a cycle. I tell my colleagues, it's a cycle. And because it's a cycle, it's moving all the time. So as an artist, you don't stay at one point. Because you start from the beginning, nobody knows you, but you know what you have. Then one or two people will recognize you, and then the recommendations will start coming. At that moment, when you go to any program, you are the first to perform. Like you open the curtain, and you are happy to do that. because you want people to know what you have. Then comes a time in your life that you have reached the top. You won't go to the side. In the middle, people are beginning to know you. But when you get the top, where every artist wants to go there, it is very lonely, and not everybody gets to that point. But it doesn't mean you are not relevant, because we are all different, and we have different things to do for the industry. And so it's important to know that you have talent, but if you don't have, don't bother yourself if the talent is not there, because there are a lot. So you should be good, and you should have your niche, know what you are good at, and the little area you want to strike on, and do that portion and do it well. Because just as we have different tastes, everybody has different tastes. You would like Odoinchi, but at the point you're tired, you want to hear Sapode, you're tired, you want to hear Reverend Yosi, you're tired, you want to hear Tego System. And so that is how the industry is. And you need to have your niche and be good there. But as you grow in the industry, you have to look at other areas. Either you mentor others, either you go into the business itself, either you go into managing other people. There are a lot of areas you can dive into. So don't stick at just one point, because it won't help. We are growing and things are changing. Gone were the days that I would be always on stage. Today, when I stand on stage after 30 minutes, I'm tired. And so you need to learn on the job all the time so that you can be versatile. So I went into publishing, like I said, and I had to learn on the job. And set up GH Music Publishing. We do music administration, and then we also do services. If you don't have a digital distribution, we can do that for you. That would be a different contract and arrangement. We also do subscriptions. If you are here and you don't belong to the professional association, that is not good. It's important to belong to music. It is important. What shows that you're a professional musician? There should be that ID on you. So I encourage you to register. And in GH Music Publishing, any artist that comes to us, it's one of the requisites. If you don't have, we can do it for you. We also do quarterly workshops and training. We need to learn all the time, because our industry is such that every day new technology is coming out, new things are happening, so you need to know that. We have Happiness and sub-publishers. We are the shared publishing representatives in Ghana. And so our work, they also have our repertoire and they look out for us. Apart from all these, there's a platform I want to introduce to you today. It is called Music to Deal. Music to and Deal. It is a platform like LinkedIn. How many of us know LinkedIn? Okay, so it's just like a LinkedIn, but all the people there are music industry players, from tour operators to publishers to artists to radio DJs, name it. And they are all there with their profiles from all over the world. And so you can search, go on the website, and then register, and you can have access to colleagues in the industry all over the world. If you are interested and you want more details, you can give your contact to Sharon, stand up and let me see you. She can take your details and will help you join Music to Deal. I'm the African representative for Music to Deal. Before I sit down, let me just give you my concluding links, because I know there will be time for questions, so I'm just pepping your appetite. You are your best marketer. Most of the times, artists think, oh, I have a record label, so they have to do my promotion. Oh, I have a publisher, they have to. You are the best marketer of what you have. And so make sure you have the network of friends. People think money is wealth, but wealth actually is people, human beings. The more contacts you have, the more you are bound to succeed. It's important to make use of the internet. If you are in this room today and you don't have an email address and you are a musician, then I wonder where you get to. it's important that you get technical, know how to make use of internet, buy good phones, make use of it. Now, I wanted to quickly give us the difference between a record label and a publisher. I was jumping that, but if I don't say that, if I go on that, it will save a lot of the questions that will come. So usually, record labels, they promote the business of music performance. They would look out for their main function is production, distributing, and marketing. They also promote the music and its videos. They have the responsibility of scouting for the artists, the talent, and then building your brand. Record labels they should have different teams to market the artist's products through social media and all the other platforms and channels. And it is the record label's duty to recommend a publisher for the artist. Let me jump to what publishers do. Just as the record label takes the artist, the publisher takes the product of the artist. Publishers work mainly with your work. Publishers will push your work to places that your work would make income. So for instance, the publishers are to send your work to the advertising companies, the film people, so they can use your music for scoring and stuff like that. Publishers also do sheet music. They do sheet music. And then they are able to work with CMOs. So for instance, my company works directly with GHAMARO. Publishers can't take royalties, unlike record labels. And so I would end here so that when it's time for questions, we can come back and give more. Thank you for coming tonight, this afternoon. I believe the industry, your career will take a new turn because you're going to have a lot of your questions answered. Thank you.
You want to put your hands together for her, come on. I noticed she said tonight. Yeah, most musicians like recording in the evening. And maybe I can say this while I'm here. Sometimes when I'm on the radio in the morning, I play the songs and you say, tonight, you feel some way. So when you're recording your songs, henceforth, say, this moment, right? It makes sense to us. You have to, those of us on the radio. Anyways, please, what did you learn? Remember, today is World Music Day. I wrote down something I learned quickly. I wrote here that you are the best marketer of that work that God has given you. Create a network. Very, very important. Sure. I think Auntie Diana is down to earth. Let's appreciate it, please. Anyways, thank you. So, make use of the internet, get techie, very necessary, head of our record label and publisher. VGMA 24, Charterhouse, World Music Day. Today is National Music Summit. We're excited to see you. Please, one more time, put your hands together for yourselves. Come on. Don't get tired doing that. Okay, so I'm going to the next presentation, and we have coming up next a wonderful lady by name Emily. Let me say that she's a fantastic DJ. We'll keep that one on the record. Wow. She's a project manager for a project aimed at supporting the expansion of music industry in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, I think she's the only Ogoni here. Put your hands together for her. Oh, we got two. Okay. All right. Hi to the other Ogoni. So please, Emily, let's receive her, please. Thank you. You can come in. Come on.
Indeed, copyright royalties are very important in the music business, and sometimes there are challenges that make it harder to get, such as legal issues or market issues. in Ghana, for instance, there are some challenges to such copyrights, and one of them is the untapped value chain in the copyright in Ghana. So in music, quickly, as Diana already said, the value chain is the following. So one author or composer makes the music work, and there are intellectual property, and this intellectual property, has rights. Then the rights on such work constitute the main source of value on the long term. The exploitation of such rights can be done by the publisher. The publisher is therefore entrusted to do the promotion and the exploitation of the work. So they promote it so that it can be broadcasted in bars, clubs, videos, ad films, all of that. So you can see how publishers can be very important in the music industry. In Ghana, for instance, in 2020, 0.08 million euros of royalties were distributed in 2020. In Ivory Coast, the same year, it was 3 million. And in France, that has a more mature market for copyrights, it was 1,300 million euros. So knowing how vibrant the music industry here is in this country, we can see there's a lot of untapped potential in Ghana in the copyright markets. And this potential can be reached notably, as Diana said as well, with a strong network of Ghanaian publishing companies and publishers. So building on such observation, conversations were held on virtuous perspectives for co-exploitation between Ghanaian publishers in the making and their French peers. Basically, such cooperation would enable a transfer of skills in the specific areas. It would allow also a global market access for Ghanaian right holders and the development of business between France and between Ghana. So next week, we are launching a project with the Creative Arts Agency. The overall objective of the project is to encourage the deployment of all the music industry value chain in Ghana through meetings and cooperation with private sector operators. So the idea is to target young people, but it also in general supports the objective of social and economic inclusion of all actors who participate in the music production and music industry. So there are three components basically, with the first one being the most important one is remunerating and protecting those who create and who produce the music work. And it will also allow to retain ownership of copyright in Ghana. There are also two other components that are planning the creation of venues for the distribution of music and innovating initiatives for music festivals. So basically, I'm inviting all of you on the 27th of June at 3 p.m., so next week, to help us co-construct all these activities so that it can really come from you, from the industry, and so that we can plan a project that's tailored to your needs. So try and link up with me so that I can get your email address and send you the right invite. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a good day.
Thank you, Emily. Please, if you understood all that she said, put your hands together for her. Those are not clapping, what's up? We'll play it back for you, right? But I'm sure you know all the necessary details. Make sure you connect with her and the team she's working with. Thank you very much. All right, so VGMA National Music Summit. It is an exciting to see all these wonderful people join us. God bless you. My name is Fifi Fosu. They call me the Christocentric guy. At this juncture, I think that my job is done. Please clap for me. So, I'm bringing my senior brother and colleague up next. He's going to lead the national dialogue, how the ecosystem can raise more A-list artists with global appeal, right? It's something that will definitely handle as it starts. But kickstarting will be the workshop. So please help me welcome the one and only Andy Dusty. Please celebrate it, celebrate it.
Fine. Hello, good afternoon.
vehicles, so I took a taxi. And, well, as usual, music played in the vehicle. Then my music came up. And I asked the driver, if you they play or it be radio? He says, it be radio. I said, oh, okay. So, when I was getting off, I said, now, so when you see me, you're motivated me to also share. See, I don't remember. And he told me. But the question here is, active music users, are we making as much as we are spending on our music? So I go to the studio, make sure I pay for them, make sure I invite musicians. But for me as a producer, if anyone comes to me and say, look, I want you to give me your song, what I usually do is that I invite the musicians over, I gather them. So come here, give me a bass, give me a live horn, give me percussions. I assemble them, I pay them off, and then I get someone to mix and master. I've produced it. The person pays me for my service, and we all go happily ever after. The question is, if I am paying a certain appeal to Zokewa or Richie or any producer, am I making my money or am I taking it back? A few days ago, I was paid what was due me with callback ringtones. Look, if I tell you yourself, you go more. I fold out the cash like this and I put it in my back pocket. I used it to buy fuel on my way home, and that was it. But really, how do we make it right? So here, on World Music Day, let us all come together, ask all the relevant questions, and get the right answers so that we can move forward henceforth. To help me do this, again, here, before I even introduce my guest, there are lots of musicians in this country. Ghana has produced a lot great musicians. Yet, our conversation, even radio presenters sit on radio and they say, oh, our music is not crossing borders. Our music is going nowhere. Our music is going nowhere. How? I was shocked when I met a taxi driver in Durban. He's an Indian who had lived in Pakistan for many years. And the guy said he heard our music in Pakistan. And as he was driving me from my hotel to the airport, we were talking, I remember recording him. And the guy was telling me about Ghanaian music. Oh, Ghanaian music is good. I love Ghanaian music. And then he started singing a few songs. I'm like, wait a minute. Slow down, boss. How did you hear about music? He says, I hear your music. I said, I know your music. And he started mentioning some of our musicians' names. And I was surprised. This means our music has crossed. However, we do not build the artists from home. So how do we build A-list artists? All we know is the 4 S's. The 4 S's on the lips of every presenter, every Ghanaian. Oh, the 4 S's. We hear them on radios, on various activities. Everywhere we go, the 4 S's. Name them. Samini, Sakwati, Stoneboy, Shatta. What about the Kelvin Boys? What about Kim Promise? What about Y'all Darlings? What about Efia? What about all of these musicians who are coming up, who are doing well? Last Me, LaRusso and the rest. All of them, how do we make them global icons? To help me answer all of these questions, please, a music enthusiast and a great mind when it comes to our music, please help me welcome Beat Menace. Yeah. Thank you. Respect, please. Go. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, I must apologize.
Hello. Thank you.
I never knew.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Let me stand. I never knew the podium was. There is a riser here. Sorry, for those who couldn't see me because of my height, I apologize. At least now all of you can see me. Do I have your permission to sit? Thank you. Thank you. Nice. All right.
Andy.
Right. So yeah, in my earlier presentation, you heard me talk about global icons. Yes, we have what we termed as local champions. At least there's one person they all call local champion. I'm not going to mention his name. Be back. Champion. Okay. Okay. You for life. That's it. Anyone name? All right. So yes, how do we cross it? First of all, we've all been here. We've done music. Yet our music remains within our borders. Even the connoisseurs claim our music is not going anywhere. First off, is our music going somewhere?
Well, there are a few artists who are now globally recognized, okay, at varying degrees. But in as a whole, I think we need to do more. Because, I mean, I believe everyone in this room would believe that at some point in our history we had a head start. Not just in music, but also in film. Okay, so the questions we need to start asking is what happened or what changed? And are we properly positioned? Are we knowledgeable to sort of work with that change, to project our music globally? That's why we need to start asking questions. That's what I believe.
What's the answer to the question you just
Well, it's not a singular answer because it's a very multifaceted problem. Okay, there's a problem of thought leadership. That's individuals. So people who work with artists, the mindset of the artists. There's an issue when it comes to media as well, and when it comes to policy also. So there's the governmental aspect of it. There's the aspect that has to do with industry and companies and businesses, and then the individuals who sort of run those operations as well. So it trickles down to the artist and also affects the listener. Yes, I know.
Big question. The listener.
Yes.
Who do we term an A-lister? First of all, must you be part of the 4 S's?
I disagree with that.
Right.
And this is my opinion, but I will say a few things to have you think from a different perspective, right? In 2019, I had a conversation with a very powerful person in the global music business, okay? And the person did not know who the most powerful of all our S's was in 2019. Also, in 2019, something interesting happened. In neighboring Benin, if you look at the map of Ghana, when you travel from Ghana, you go to Togo. From Togo, you go to Benin. From Benin, you go to Nigeria. The most popular Ghanaian song in 2019 in neighboring Benin was VIP's Africa, which was released in 2002.
In 2019?
2019.
Wow.
So, I think even, you remember that I mentioned something about our media, that they are also complicit in the supposed problem, is the fact that there's a divide between certain artists that we perceive as big or bigger than other artists. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, so in 2015, King Aisoba, how many of you know King Aisoba? Show my hand.
We all do.
He opened and performed on a stage that the Rolling Stones performed on in 2015, and no media outfit in Ghana picked it up. People will make an argument for marketing and PR, right? And I agree 100%. But I don't believe Beyonce and Chris Brown's PR teams reach out to Ghanaian media entities to project their stuff, right? So there should be a certain level of intentionality when it comes to that. So, in my opinion, what constitutes an A-list artist, especially in the Ghanaian context, is very debatable. Okay? You have bands that many Ghanaians may not have heard of, quite a few Ghanaians have heard of. A lot of media entities refuse to play their stuff because it doesn't necessarily fit within the mold of what maybe a vast majority of people might perceive to be cool. But these people are performing, they're doing like 75 shows every year, performing to audiences of between 2,000 and 70,000 people. There's a problem. So we need to assess whatever quantifies the answer to your question when we have a way of consolidating these seemingly divergent artists and then we can know who is actually doing it for real, right? Somebody said a certain artist in Ghana was selling out stadia. They'll do shows at a stadium and it'll be packed. And a majority of those shows are not paid for. So it's open gate. So basically what the person on their team does is they find a title sponsor to bear the cost of the venue, the PA, sound, all technical, so that they become the sole beverage vendor at the event. So if you ask me this question, that okay, for another artist, artist A, who sells a ticket for 50 CDs, and maybe VIP for 150 CDs, right, can fill out a quarter of the stadium because people are actually paying. And one who is basically just opening the gates because somebody has carried the cost of putting that together. Which of these two artists is the bigger artist, and which of them would be more financially viable? That's a debatable question. And these are some of the things we need to assess when making certain statements, because they're certain blanket statements that I believe over time have sort of permeated our mindset to cloud us from seeing what is actually happening. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. And as much as possible, I would like this to be an interactive question. So if there's somebody in the audience who wants to ask a question or has an alternative viewpoint, please, you're welcome to do so.
All right, many thanks. So I'm going to let that rest. Now, let's move on to the young ones who want to engage or get onto record labels. I've spoken to A-list artists. In fact, one of the biggest artists in Ghana who is not signed onto a record label. I asked him, but why are you not on any record label? And he had so many reasons, which was extremely beneficial to him and his brand. And I understood him perfectly why he doesn't want to sign on to any record label. This was a private conversation. Now, for any young artist, his or her dream is to have a label. How do we attract record labels?
Well, I think I know the artist you're speaking of, and I think his answer is debatable because he has a publishing situation with Sony, and Sony is a major label. So there are different types of record label deals. It might be publishing, it might be licensing, it might be distribution. There's so many things. It might be a 360 deal. So I get what he's trying to say, but that's also debatable, right? And there's no singular answer to your question, but I'll say this because I work with a lot of artists. For years, I sort of operated as an incubator sort of that prioritized artist development over everything. I think the first thing that we need to be intentional about is the overall quality of the music we put out. On the technical side and also the creative side, okay? I may shake some tables a bit. Chief Alvin. For people who know me, this is something I am very vocal about because if you compare a lot of the music we produce to music from similar countries or neighboring countries, you'd realize that there's a general lack of quality, okay? The technical side, I mean the quality of your production, okay? If you're going to use a kick drum, how many producers are in here? Oh, just like 2 or 3, 4. Producers, please. I know many of you download a lot of sample packs from the internet, but a lot of these sample packs are sometimes MP3s. MP3s are generally of low quality. So if your kick and your snare is an MP3 that somebody converted back to a wave for you to put in your session, I mean, that's an accident waiting to happen. You cannot make great lemonade with bad lemons. It's impossible. Okay? Secondly, we need to be students of music. We need to really genuinely love and appreciate music. And what I mean by this is, if you're an Afrobeat artist, I do not want you predominantly listening to Afrobeats. How many of you are big fans of Ashake, the Nigerian musician, the Nigerian artist? I'm using him as an example because he's been all over the place, like in the last 12, maybe 13 months. But Ashake's music, if you really understand Nigerian cultural and indigenous music, about 70% of the DNA, what informs his music, is indigenous Yoruba appellations, indigenous Yoruba Fuji music, and juju music. And then there are sprinkles of high life on there, but everything is given to you as Afrobeats. So he's a proper student of music. As a creative person, and this is not just about music alone, it transcends just music. It's in film, it's in creative writing. If you are a poet, if you are a songwriter, you cannot give what you do not have. You put out empty stuff. And our society is slowly becoming a place of, certain people who may not, maybe due to circumstances beyond their control, decide to do music because they don't have anything else to fall back on. Not that it's a bad thing, because music is actually one of the greatest medicines. Music is one of the few things that can actually take people through like really bad and difficult times, right? But we also need to respect the art form and dedicate ourselves to it. How many of you people are originally from Accra? If you are Ghana, please show by hand. If you are from the Volta region, show by hand. I'm asking these questions because as a Ghanaian, right? The Ewes come from a larger group called the Fon language speaking group. So you have Ewewe, right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, please pardon me. But you find traces of this culture from Ghana through to Togo to Benin all the way to Angola. And among the Ewes alone, I have personally recorded more than 150 drum patterns. I've asked, I started doing this as an answer to certain questions I had. This is going back 12, nearly 15 years ago. I asked my friends who are Ghana, and I asked them, what is your traditional music? And they'll tell you Kwanlogo. But Kwanlogo emerged in the 1950s as part of the struggle for independence, when people were looking for a united art form to identify themselves as a people, to oppose colonial rule. So are you trying to tell me that before the 1950s, the Ghanaians did not have their own traditional music? We are losing a lot of things that should be the very backbone of everything we create. Take an artist like Black Sherif. People will argue that, there's the marketing spend and the push and all that stuff behind Sherif. That's true. You can't deny that. But there's one thing that's undeniable. Before the money and the influence and all the attention, Black Sherif stood out like a sore thumb because he was one of the most unique talents we had had in a long time. You have to be unique. If we all wear black shirts like I do, right now, I mean, it's going to be really difficult to pick some, oh yeah, I'm the guy in the hall where the conference is happening, I'm wearing a black shirt. There are like 75 people in black shirts. You need to stand out. One unique thing about Black Sherif, I had the pleasure of meeting him unofficially. This was before he just, I think he had started, this was after our first and second sermon. And I met him through Sway, the UK rapper. So it was a session, he came to the studio, and I was just intrigued by the guy because I realized he really genuinely loved music. And he told me that if he had a way, he would sing instead of rap. He considers himself more of a singer than a rapper, right? But if you listen to indigenous Asante Nyunkro, how many of you know Nyunkro? It's traditional Asante music. The inflections and melodic cadence of Black Sherif when he's rapping or singing is actually from Nyunkro, 100%. So what I'm trying to say is, one of the things that is setting us back is a general lack of a strong identity.
Could that be an attraction to record labels?
Absolutely.
If you're a young chap and you need a record label to attract you, I'm asking, I'm using the word.
That's one thing.
I'm using the word attraction because recently I shared something on radio I knew it would spark up a conversation. Unfortunately, not, because I'm well informed about in fact, I saw it, a message from a representative from Rockefeller to a Ghanaian
Rock Nation.
Rock Nation, I beg your pardon.
Rockefeller's no more.
Sorry, Rock Nation, who had sent a message to a Ghanaian artist, a female actually, telling her about how he enjoys his music and wants to work with her.
Okay.
And it seems they've started the conversation.
Clearly, you do not have the clearance to mention the person's name.
Right, thank you.
But that person is unique among all the other artists. There's a certain uniqueness about that artist.
So what does the artist need to be unique? Should the music be presented to the record label? Must he dress in a certain way? Should he go and kill someone to have a police case? So yeah, because he needs to be recognized.
Yes and no to all of it. And I'll say this because every artist is different. You have artists who are supposed to be commercial products, popular artists. So how you look, how you talk, how your music sounds. How many of you listen to Rick Ross? Rick Ross has a way of letting you feel like you're a millionaire, even if you're broke. You understand what I'm saying? And you need, artist development I think is the most important thing, because it sort of polishes whatever raw talent you have. And I believe that's what we have in Ghana for the most part. We have a lot of raw talent. But if you see a diamond in the rough that hasn't been cut and polished, you can't, you don't give it the same respect you do when you go to like Tiffany's and you see that ring, that cost $500,000. You understand? So I think there's a certain level of intentionality. You need to also put work into how you choose to say what you want to say. What is your story? I've been to Konongo. I don't know what Konongo Zongo is. I've never been to Konongo Zongo. But I have a feeling that I've been there. Why? Because I'm a big Blacko fan. Artists have the superpower to create things out of nothing, quote unquote. And somebody might do it differently from another person, but some people have the power to make it transcend their personal experience. And these are some of the things labels are looking for. So you realize I've just made a broad statement. For somebody, it's how they dress, how they talk, and you need to understand what is your brand. I have a background in advertising and marketing, right? This from uni. And in communication design, you're supposed to come up with a visual representation that's supposed to sell an idea to somebody who did not previously have that information. Music, in my opinion, works in the opposite way. Your brand is actually your music. And how that manifests in the way you talk, what sneakers you choose to wear, how you relate, and even the language, how you approach even posting on social media. Do you understand what I'm saying? It has to be a wholesome experience. You need to make people feel the need to want to be you. The die-hard Beyonce fans here, you would love to put up a poster of Beyonce on their wall, or a Shatawale, or a Stone Boy. But that is the idea. How do you sell your uniqueness in such a way that it has crossover appeal? I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. So you need to cultivate and develop your own unique language. And traditionally, record labels would usually find raw talent and they will pay people to sort of groom that talent after they sign them. But these days, that's not the case. So the best thing you can do as an independent artist or an artist team, if you work with an artist, is to find a way of trying to find out what is unique about this artist that will make that artist stand out from the rest, and how do you package that and build everything around that uniqueness?
Okay, for me, I'm speaking for the up and coming or the budding musicians around here, or musicians who may be watching us via streams. Right. Now, you made a statement, but I have to let you go, unfortunately. Time won't permit us. So let this be my last question. You mentioned that previously, record labels would pick up artists from the dust, make sure they're well cleaned, well groomed, and then they project them to the pedestal, right? Now, they don't do that any longer. They rather go for
They amplify what is already attractive to
Good, okay. So, for example, a younger artist who is never known, or someone who's budding, how do you make it? Then it means you are going nowhere. There's no future for an artist like that, if that's what you claim.
Yes and no. There was a conversation earlier about the music business. There's a difference between music, just for music's sake, and music business. And the perfect scenario is for you to understand both and join the two together. Okay? Now, a lot of people have smartphones. What are you using the time you spend on the internet on your smartphone for? I like using GHAMARO as an example because I've known her for years. And looking at where she is today is not surprising. Because in like 2016, 2017, GHAMARO would sit in her car and drive and get stuck in Spitex traffic for like 3 hours to meet somebody who would help her make one snare sound better.
Well, I must congratulate you. Guys, let's give it up for Beatmanis. He's helped in GHAMARO's brand and produced.
I produced one song for her, but not...
Amazing. Congrats. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, and so I think we need to be very intentional about our intentionality. If you claim this is what you want, and every second, or at least the majority of every second, of every minute, of every hour, of every day, of every week, or every month of your life is not dedicated to learning something new or improving what you already have, then you're wasting your time. It's okay to watch funny videos on TikTok. Yes, it's cool. But you're watching that viral video, it's putting money in that person's pocket. What about your pocket? So we need to be intentional. You need to have a plan. What I mean by having a plan is, just like I said, how many of you respect doctors and lawyers here today? Show by hands. You see, there are certain titles, there are certain career paths or titles that usually accord a certain level of respect in our society. But I mean, for you to be a medical doctor, you would attend primary school, you go to JHS, you go to secondary school, and you would be a science student, right? Then you would go to university, you would learn some specific aspect of medicine for 6 years. You graduate, you are not skilled to be a doctor yet. You would have to undergo a pupillage under a senior doctor, under like a respectable institution for some time. I don't think any one of us here will be sick and God forbid, but you are supposed to be operated on, and somebody comes to snitch that Charlie, the surgeon, finish medical school. Would you allow him to work on you? But we don't accord that same level of intentionality, dedication, and seriousness to creative disciplines. And it is sad. One of the key aspects of one of the things that can let artists make money is live performances, right? Even with live performances, there are dedicated skills you have to learn. There's a way to speak in a microphone. If I bring the microphone closer, you hear a lot of bass. When I take it back, there's less bass. So if you have a sound guy who doesn't know how to do his job, and you're a singer, or you're a singer with a very thin voice, even how you use the microphone, if you do your research, can make you have good sound live. Hallelujah. And we are concentrating on things that don't matter. Ghana and Nigeria jollof. Year of return, you go to most of the high-class hotels and don't serve you fum or other unique Ghanaian dishes. We are quarreling about which is better, Ghana versus Nigeria jollof. But we don't grow a lot of the rice too. We need to re-prioritize the things that matter the most. For me, if you're an artist, what is your selling point? Do you play an instrument? Can you sing in key? What is your natural range? Work at improving these things. How do you define your sound? Who is your producer? Does that person understand how to play an instrument? It may not be necessary, but it will help because it will reduce the sameness of the stuff you create. You need to understand that certain keys, even on the keyboard, have different emotional appeal. It would let you feel in a specific kind of way. You don't want to make a song that is supposed to be really sad because you lost your grandma and she was the one who raised you, and the producer you're working with has created a beat in C major. It's impossible. If you play an instrument and you're also an artist, it means you have a lot of work to do. You have to be proficient on your instrument. You have to be proficient if you write your own music. Your music writing skill has to be on a certain level, and then your voice also. So it means times 3. Whatever work you're going to do, times 3. If it's dance music you do and you want to perform, someone like Mr. Drew, he can really dance. How many of you have seen the viral video of Taylor Swift who was singing and was running on a treadmill to work on her breath control? If you're a singer here and you want to perform live and you have shortness of breath, it's a problem. So you wake up in the morning, buy a skipping rope. Me, my house, skipping ropes in the play. If you have to come there, you enter the door, I'll give you one. Yes. You know the Kole Lagoon? When you're coming from the Kolebu side, when you take enter the best traffic light, we detest that they do for artists. Oh, you want to work with me? Oh, we could go someplace. Roll down the glass. If you can smell Lavender Hill, are you with me?
No, you can smell that well.
Oh, there's the problem, Andy. Because people will bite. You see, I was on a space a couple of weeks
ago. I want you to finish that. Don't we all? Yeah, we all want to know the drill.
How many of you?
No, wait. So yes, you go there, then what? You go and smell what?
You know, that traffic light, they chill. The red will come, you'll be stuck there for quite some time. Yeah, so your lung capacity, you should be able to hold your breath, make the red thing green, pass the straight so you know will smell out. If not, problem. You understand?
So you won't roll up?
No. I won't gauge the artist. Because these days, people do a lot of studio tweakery.
What if I catch cold?
Oh, I'll give you ginger make it too. You see, so it is very hard work. In fact, I think even making music today is even harder because everybody can make music today. The quality of what they produce is relative there. It may be bad music, which is subjective anyway, right? Or amazing music. But the point is, it is so empowering just to have a smartphone and be able to make a beat and record your voice on a smartphone. But that has increased the competition. So it means it's the struggle of the fittest, right? On both the creative, the technical, and now the business side. Because you need to find people who know exactly how to make whatever it is you do better. Okay? Find the right marketing people, find the right personal manager. See, if you're an artist who still needs a lot of work, I do not think you need a manager because your manager is there to amplify your day-to-day activities. You don't reach there yet. Unless the manager is a person who will always hound you and call you at 5 a.m. and say, Charlie, it's time for your vocal lessons. But I'm saying this because I think a lot of artists are also unfair to managers because they put unnecessary stress on managers when they lack the very discipline that should warrant a manager to take it to the next level. Do you understand? Nobody, Auntie Diana said something very amazing. She said, nobody can be more intentional, or you have to be your biggest fan. And for you to be your biggest fan, sometimes you have to be your biggest critic. Music is very funny because the commercial aspect of music needs a bit of ego to sell your personality. But that same ego, if not controlled, will get in the way of your own progress. Somebody will record a verse and I'll say, Charlie, the second line in verse 2, Enkoye, the bridge, the key, the some way. You sing flat small, I beg recorder. Oh, but you, Charlie, you know when I do this thing. It'll be about when you do this thing. If something is not good, it's not good. And also, technology has made it such that you have artists who are not as developed or skilled, but because of studio tweakery or the genius of producers and engineers, they make them sound really amazing, which is a good thing. Until you have to take that line. I was on a Twitter space last week. Some of our top event organizers were complaining that Ghanaians don't buy tickets abroad anymore. The one thing I was expecting to hear on that space, that lasted over 3 hours, which nobody mentioned, made me extremely sad. And I realized that, for the most part, we are really detached from what's happening. People are selling experiences now. Right now, everybody has a smartphone or a smart device. So I can see what Beyonce did, I can see what Joe Boy did, I can see what Saka did, and I'll use that same yardstick to judge the quality or the presentation of your event, but also of the artist.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm so grateful for taking time. And yes, thank you very much for coming. We just hope that each time we knock on your door, you will open up. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Beats Menace. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Coming up, let's discuss the distribution. Well, a lot of people have their music, yet they don't even know how to distribute them or the right channels to place their songs for distribution. To help answer a few questions, please let's give it up for Ike of Crocs Global, manager of R2Bs. Ike is the manager for R2Bs. You with the rush on. They get money. So yeah.
Bro, you know, you've known them for
They refuse to be broke.
You get me?
So they get money.
So as much as they don't want to release music every time, there's always new music coming. So there's music coming.
All right, that's nice.
Yeah.
Good to know. I thought we'd be excited about that. Yeah. It's good news. Each time any artist is releasing new music, we must be excited about it. Okay. All right. Now, Crocs Global. So yes, you are in charge of distribution. Tell us about it. How do we contact you?
Well, usually to distribute your music, we have our website that we advertise a lot. So you just go on the website and then it's just plug and play. You just follow the steps and then it goes through. But the thing is, the reason why me and my partner actually thought of starting up a distribution company in Ghana was because I've been in the space for a while. I realized that anytime you want to pull out your music, you either have to go to all these other companies which are not Ghanaian owned. So let's say, I'm not going to mention names though, but you put out your music there and then maybe for a reason you want to change the date or something. Usually it was difficult to go about that. So we're like, okay, why don't we start something whereby if you want to put out, if you're putting out your music, you first have people that you can actually go to and say, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? To actually help the Ghanaian artists to move up in the music ecosystem. Because there's something I've realized, because I've been in the music industry for a while, which I think Ghanaians should appreciate. In the whole of Africa, it is only Nigeria that's let's say 2 or 3 steps ahead of us. So we shouldn't be beating ourselves too much, because everybody goes like, oh, Ghanaian music, blah 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 blah. If let's take out Nigeria. Tell me an African country whose music is doing better than Ghana music. Tell me. If you tell me South Africa, Amapiano doesn't have a face. Mention 5 Amapiano artists that can fill O2 Arena. O2, the smaller one, what's the name of that one? Indigo. But I can tell you, we have about, Shatawale has filled it, Starkode has, R2B has, Kwame Eugene did, Kim Promise. So, the thing is, as much as we are always in competition with Nigeria, which makes us beat ourselves, that we need to do more, which is good as a nation. We shouldn't feel that, oh, we are not doing it, like we are not moving. Because as it is, even if it's a snail pace, there's a movement. But we are actually moving. So what I always tell myself is, what is Nigeria doing better than us? The first thing that they did. If you leave Ghana, my big man Rocky Dawuni will tell you this, because he's been in there. If you leave Ghana and you go to every music company, you see a Nigerian and you see a Ghanaian. But in the last, say, 15 years, what the Nigerians did was they encouraged all their people out there to come back and help their music. So, for instance, if you go to Maymans, you realize that you meet people that were actually working in Sony Music, blah blah blah, back in the UK, who are back working with them. For instance, my partner Kofi has been working with labels across Europe and all that. And since I met him, everything I've learned in the music industry, I told myself that when I'm sitting here, artist manager. You get me? So I think the first thing that we need to do is that let's reach out to all the people that are in music across the world, that are Ghanaians, to come back and help the music industry. Because, bro, listen, it is not like the Nigerians did anything magic, you know. That is what they did. Because when you don't know, you don't know. But if you are educated and you've been in a space and you have the experience, it actually helps to push the music to a certain level. Because if you pay attention to this, for instance, my company, I prefer to have Ghanaians that have lived in the diaspora to work in my space. Why? Because they've actually done it so many times, so they actually know. So the Ghanaians that live here that are working in my company, they actually understand that, okay, this is how you go about, let's say, anytime you're putting out your music, you need to do A, B, C, D. There's like a scale of preference that you need to go through. You go through that. They proper educate you on that. Because, excuse my language, the last one was talking about our music. I don't think our music is that bad, you know. Because, for instance, a song like Last Mix, Friday Night, maybe they've not told you, but it's a big song in Nigeria. You get me? Then it goes back to the biggest problem, which is financing. Because as it stands now, every Nigerian artist that you hear in Ghana has a big company or a big sponsor sitting behind him. So for instance, mention the top 5 Nigerian songs, because every day a lot of people release music in Nigeria, you know. But out of that is the, let's say, top 10 or top 15 that slips into the Ghanaian ecosystem. So ask yourself, every song that you hear in Ghana, or every Nigerian artist that you know in Ghana, how did he get it? You realize that is because there's some huge clash. Okay, first time, 3 people. I mentioned 3 people that, and these are the 3 top artists from Nigeria: Burna Boy, Wiz, and David. Okay, so Wiz is like around 2 person. So he did Azoto. He's done. Wiz has about 5 or 6 collaborations with Ghanaian artists from 10 years back. David literally saw what Wiz was doing, and then Wiz learned that from D'banj. Because there was a time that D'banj was always living in Small God's house. D'banj was always here. Two-Face was always in Ghana. You get me? So, this is the reason why in Ghana, if you want to put a show and bring a Nigerian artist, these are the first 3 people that you think about. Burna Boy literally had to come stay with Shatawale and everybody in Ghana to actually understand being an international artist. So what did he do? After they came to Ghana and then they realized that they've saturated the Ghanaian ecosystem, they moved to South Africa. So there was a time that every time Wiz is in South Africa, every time David is in South Africa, every time Burna Boy is in South Africa. You get me? And these days, they cost a lot of money. But the average Ghanaian artist, we don't have it. So I don't think we should be beating ourselves too much, because the Ghanaian artist is actually trying their possible best to move in a certain way. But we don't have the finances. You get me? But even without the finances, with the low we have, I've always talk about this last minute song, because it's not like the song has like a crazy music video, but the song is a very good song. You get me? And the song is banging in Nigeria, it's banging in Sierra Leone.
So wait, for an artist whose song is banging elsewhere, if I'm not distributing with you, or I do not have any distributor, what else should I do, or how do I get it done so to get my returns?
No, so the thing is, as it stands now, you would always need a form of distribution to get your music, first of all, on Apple Music, Spotify, blah, blah, blah.
How does it connect to you as a distributor if I want to use you to make my money back? Is Apple the only distributor?
No, so the thing is, you always put it in a market where you make the most. Because there's Amazon, there's Boomplay, there's a few very good platforms there. But the thing is, Apple Music, Spotify is the highest earners on there. So they're the main platform that me, for instance, I always push to artists that, make sure you have your numbers on Apple Music, make sure you have your numbers on Spotify. But there's a trick to it. So I did a writing camp somewhere last year, and then every time the guys came, because most of them were new upcoming acts that I really wanted to help. So they were asking me, how do we actually make our numbers on Apple Music, Spotify? And I was like, you always have to start from a certain point to move up. Because what is these platforms, they support projects more than support singles. When we were coming up, it was more of, you get one single, you put it out, and then it moves through. But these platforms, obviously, they are also money-making companies. So they will support people that they see are ready to put out projects. So for instance, let's say Apple Music. If you're an upcoming artist, and then you want to make some numbers, or you want to start making some money on them, I tell them that, first and foremost, you always record, because now it's not as difficult to make music like it was before. So let's say you put out 5 songs, and then you go to your distributor, or the distributor that you can come to me and say, okay, bro, I have 5 songs. How do I go about it? What I'm going to tell you is, pick these songs. Let's go back to Apple Music, and I'll tell Apple Music that, okay, this is a young coming artist. You get me? How do we support them? They'll say, okay, put the music out. So I'll say, let's put a first song out. After, say, 3 to 4 weeks, let's put the second song out. Now, when the second song is coming, we'll say, let's put a pre-order, like the pre-order, you get me? And then we'll put the pre-order link on there. And then after another, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, you put out the same, the whole project. Now, Apple Music will support you with playlisting and all that. The second thing that Apple Music might support you with is like a banner. You get me? So it means that they're putting your music out there somewhere. Because there's two things that actually help with these platforms. It's playlisting and then putting out banners for artists. So playlisting, they put it on certain playlists. I don't know if people understand what playlists are about. Playlists are like curated specific songs by these labels, where these platforms whereby you don't necessarily need to go look for the song. So they are giving you, so they'll say that, okay, let's say Afrobeat. These are the list of top Afrobeat songs. So these playlists and all that will help you be identified easily. But how do you get into these playlists? When you as an artist put yourself in a position whereby the DSP is ready to actually support you. You get it? Because the best way you can actually maximize from your music is when the DSPs are supporting you. And how do they support you? They will support you with playlists and then the banners. And then these playlists and banners, they will only support when they know that there's a systematic way of putting out the music. You get me?
Right. Well, thank you very much for coming. Of course, Global, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll soon open up for Q&A, where you can come in. I see Junior's hands up. Yes, so we'll soon open up for Q&A.
There's one thing that I want to hint on. You get me? Like, as much as I don't want Ghanaians to be beaten at themselves about us, our music not going out there. I also want the nation to understand that if we support our artists like the way we support our football, the artists are going to go. Because a typical example is Black Sherif. Black Sherif is Black Sherif because at a point in time, every Ghanaian was like, hey, Black Sherif, the boy. And he's out there. And the thing is, he can't do it alone. We need to make sure we have, for instance, by the end of this year, there's 5 more Black Sherifs out there to actually make Ghana music be a global thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful. Thank you very much for coming over. I'm so grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you very much for your time. We're not done yet. One more, and then I'll open up for questions and answers. Up next, an artist manager who has really propelled this artist to a global stage. The artist gave us a big hit last year and even won awards at the just ended VGMAs. To help me with the next discussion, helping our artists cross over to the global stage, George Burton. Welcome. Man, I like this.
Thank you. Yes, so, made in Ghana.
Congrats. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on you and your artist job. You guys are doing amazing. Let me move straight to the question because of time. So, how do we cross over to the global stage? Case study. Camido. And congrats for the BET nomination. Amazing. Nice. How do we get there? Let's use yours as an example.
Okay, thank you again. And then good afternoon to everyone here. Where did the journey start? Let me go through my answer to the question. You just have to be intentional about it. So we're very intentional to go global. We went global.
You were intentional?
Very.
Okay. So right now, I want to go to Canada.
So you want to go to Canada?
Is it just by going to Canada? Yes, I'll go to the embassy, but what's the guarantee that I'll be granted a visa? So, yes, you were intentional, but what were the steps?
Okay, great. I mean, I started working with Camido the year 2020. Before Camido, I worked with some other artists, amazing artists, Petra, Accra, and Dr. Nilanjan, and all these people. Along the year, I gathered experience. All these 3 artists, I think it was Ketra that we stepped out of Ghana, with some African countries. But so when I got into Camido's case, we realized that we were going to put our plans into 3 phases. Now the 3 phases was, first of all, focus here in Ghana. The second was to focus on the African continent. And the third was to take him global. So fortunately for us, in the year 2021, we had a major song called Sugarcane, which we actually spent 6 months consistent promotion in Ghana. Now within this space, we were able to touch almost every part of the country, right from Upper East, Upper West, all the way to Volta region. We engaged, there were some that were physically present, others we had to do phone calls, about radio interviews and all that. We as well followed up to do, live performances in most of these cities and, towns across the country. So the song became a bit popular in January. The song was actually released in November 19th, 2021. It became popular in January, February. We went ahead to play more live shows. So at that time, what we realized was, at the back end of our Shazam, we realized that there are people up north, people in the Brown region, people in the Western region were really Shazaming the song a lot. So what we did was, okay, so if you follow up and say, Gaya Kwanta, a lot of people from Gaya Kwanta were Shazaming the song. Bebieni, Wasekro, Takwa. So what I do is I reach out to the radio stations there, and try and place interviews for Camilo, and I sort of get the songs to be played on, their airwaves, so that people can actually relate. And another thing we did was to follow up and go to these places to play live performances. So the song actually grew on people, and I think for the first time, yeah, I had an artist I was working with who had a major song in Ghana. Now, when the song became popular and it was topping charts in Ghana on our radio, we wanted to challenge ourselves to make it #1 in Ghana, which we did. We did that by engaging most of our social media followers. So we're doing frequent Twitter spaces, frequent Facebook Live activities, frequent listening parties, and all these things contributed to the song getting to #1 on Apple Music in Ghana. So that was to cap what we wanted in the first phase. Tier 1, we wanted the song to be #1 in Ghana because we were intentional, because we gave all the energy that we had. We were able to achieve that in April 2022. So that was phase 1. Now when we achieved that, we said to ourselves, okay, if we can achieve in Ghana, then we can try in other parts of Africa. Now when you want to step out of Ghana, Nigeria comes to mind. Nigeria has become the hub of African music. So, I work with Gomi. Gomi's company called Cross Global, and then Mooks Recordings in the UK. So what we did was, both teams came together to select some few artists that wanted to feature because we wanted to cross over. Now, I think on top of the list was Mayekon. We sent Mayekon next time a song. They also called to investigate to find out if the song was really doing well in Ghana. Now that gave me another insight that your song can be #1 in Ghana, but it will not cross the borders. So don't expect or don't feel like you're doing so well in Ghana, so you're known out there. No. So I'm sure the likes of Pep and all these guys, may reach out to them. Yes, we went ahead to record a song. When the song came out, I think we had a song somewhere around April. When the original was topping charts, we had the remix ready then. I thought it was about 2 months before we released it. We knew what we had. So we started announcing that people were like, don't even go out there and release it. The original is better. But we knew what we were doing. So we stepped into Nigeria, Lagos. When we released the song, we went in there we stayed about a month to do promotion. It cost us money, but it was worth it. And then we were equally embarked on the East Africa. Now, most of the places we couldn't go, we had to direct all our traffic, social media ads, to the east, to the south, and of course, West Africa here. So which I think it also helped grow the numbers for the music here. Before, our team in the UK, Mooks Recordings, also did great to the brand by connecting us to some agencies, to get our songs played on the mainstream UK radio. So.